Well, my friends, it's a rough world out there. Rising prices, crashing assets, and a war on money is being waged at a level I never thought we would see, and this quick. It's the beginning of the Great Reset, aka when this world is reset and power is fully given to our banking and corporate overlords. Global governance is hanging on by a thread, but luckily, we the people don't have to play into their game, as decentralization gives us a true ace in the hole. If they're going to be bluffing off the flop, let's play our hand, because it's time for Chico Crypto. So to begin, what is the Great Reset? Well, the specific phrase Great Reset came into general circulation over a decade ago with the publication of a 2010 book, The Great Reset, by American urban studies scholar Richard Florida. It was written in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, and Florida's book argued that the 2008 economic crash was the latest in a series of Great Resets. What else came out around this time? Bitcoin did, and for the same reason, the 2008 economic crash. Something good was born from the idea of the Great Reset, money not controlled by banks and corporate interests across the globe, but also something very evil. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard of the WEF, World Economic Forum, but for those of you who don't, they are a famous organization made up of the world's political, economic, and cultural elites that meets annually in Davos, Switzerland to discuss how to rule the world. Behind closed doors, they control nearly all of the world's wealth and most of the leaders. And this forum was founded over 50 years ago by Klaus Schwab, who is still in control as the executive chairman. Just 4 years after Florida's Great Reset book was published at the 2014 annual meeting of the WEF, Schwab declared this in Davos.
What we want to do in Davos this year in this respect is to push the reset button.
He wanted to push the reset button. And just after this talk in 2014, the WEF website was changed with a reset button, making its appearance to the world. Although, if you look at the WEF's website today, they make it loud and clear they are moving forward with a great reset of this world, dedicating an entire page to the reset. What do they say about the plan? Well, the Rona crisis and the political, economic, and social disruptions it has caused is fundamentally changing the traditional context for decision making. The inconsistencies, inadequacies, and contradictions of multiple systems, from health and financial to energy and education, are more exposed than ever amidst a global context of concern for lives, livelihoods, and the planet. As we enter a unique window of opportunity to shape the recovery, this initiative will offer insights to help inform all those determining the future state of global relations, the direction of national economies, the priorities of societies, the nature of business models, and the management of a global commons. Drawing from the vision and vast expertise of leaders engaged across the forum's communities, the Great Reset Initiative has a set of dimensions to build a new social contract. So when did this idea of a worldwide Great Reset take form? Well, June 3rd of 2020, the WEF unleashed their plan with the article, "Now is the time for the Great Reset," which was shortly followed up by a book co-authored by Schwab titled COVID-19, The Great Reset. So how did the Great Reset come to be? What were the precursors? Well, in 2018 and 2019, the WEF organized two events that became the primary inspiration for the current Great Reset project. And also, for obvious reasons, fresh fodder for conspiracy theorists. In May 2018, the WEF collaborated with the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security to conduct Clade X, a simulation of a national pandemic response. Specifically, the exercise simulated the outbreak of a novel strain of human parainfluenza virus with genetic elements of the Nipah virus called Clade X. The simulation ended with a news report stating that in the face of Clade X without effective vaccines, experts tell us that we could eventually see 30 to 40 million deaths in the US and more than 900 million around the world, 12% of the global population. So clearly, preparation for a global pandemic was in order. In October of 2019, the WEF collaborated with Johns Hopkins once again and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on another pandemic exercise, Event 201, which simulated an international response to the outbreak of a novel coronavirus. This was 2 months before the Rona outbreak in China became news, and 5 months before the World Health Organization declared it a pandemic, and it closely resembled the future Rona scenario, including incorporating the idea of asymptomatic spread. It's almost like the WEF and the world leaders knew a global pandemic was coming. Like this was all part of the plan. Well, in October of 2020, just 5 months after the official announcement of the Great Reset, there was an open letter sent to former President Donald Trump. This letter came from the Catholic Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, and it said some very telling things. The letter said, "Allow me to address you at this hour in which the fate of the whole world is being threatened by a global conspiracy against God and humanity. A global plan called the Great Reset is underway. Its architect is a global elite that wants to subdue all of humanity, imposing coercive measures with which to drastically limit individual freedoms and those of entire populations. In several nations, this plan has already been approved and financed. In others, it's still in an early stage. Behind the world leaders who are the accomplices and executors of this infernal project, there are unscrupulous characters who finance the World Economic Forum and Event 201, promoting their agenda." Carlo said this global plan, the Great Reset, was fully underway in 2020, with some nations already approving the plan and having it financed. One of those nations was Sri Lanka. 4 years ago in 2018, the WEF and the Sri Lankan government posted an article which has suspiciously been removed from the WEF's website. Luckily, we can use Wayback Machine to pull it up. The article was titled, "Sri Lanka PM, This is How I Will Make My Country Rich by 2025. As we can see from the article, they would make Sri Lanka rich from a plan, an economic policy called Vision 2025, which would supposedly deliver economic prosperity to all. Guess when the plan would be detailed and delivered to the public? Well, the article tells us the upcoming 27th World Economic Forum on ASEAN in Hanoi, Vietnam, provides me with the opportunity to showcase the landmark changes in Sri Lanka and our growing economic interconnection with the ASEAN region and beyond. Yep, Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe, detailed the plan at this WEF summit in 2018. Which obviously signals the WEF had a big say in how they were going to do it. They were trying a great reset on a smaller country. I wonder how that has worked out for them so far. Well, just last week, the PM announced that his country was bankrupt. And this article on the crisis details what's going on. Power cuts, daily blackouts, limited food. Lately, the cost of food, of cooking gas, of clothes, transport, and even what electricity the state will allow you to have has skyrocketed so egregiously as the rupee's value plummeted. Because of this, the country is rioting, storming Capitol buildings. The people of Sri Lanka have had enough, and many are at their breaking point. A point at which you realize you have nothing to lose by going on the offense against the gangsters who have destroyed your country. 2018, they were going to be rich, a new global power, to becoming bankrupt and the country falling apart in just 4 years' time, all at the hands of the WEF and the Great Reset plan. So what are the citizens to do in such a situation? Well, they turn to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Even before the country declared bankruptcy just last week, this article was posted in May of 2022. When Sri Lanka's crisis exploded, some were ready with generators and cryptocurrencies. And the article states, by late 2020, many were preparing for the worst. For instance, the cryptocurrency space attracted a lot of interest. People saw the central bank struggling to maintain an artificial currency peg. Many knew it would crash and started converting their cash savings to stablecoins like USDT. Those who managed to convert at a rate offered a year ago are comfortable. Those who didn't regret it. The Great Reset, it's in full motion, and obviously from Sri Lanka's example, it's not about economic prosperity, but one of doom and gloom. Remember what the WEF says. Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. Well, that is their plan for us to own nothing, but one thing they didn't plan for was Bitcoin and crypto. That is the people's Great Reset. Cheers, viewers. I'll see you next time.